Life of Love with Joy Wilson.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Life of Love, where we gather with curious minds and hearts to explore what our life of love looks like today and maybe figure out where we want it to go tomorrow. But most of all, be in the present, because there's a chance to live your life of love in every moment. And sometimes it looks like a picture book, and sometimes we want to rewrite the chapter, but it's all part of your path. And so we honor those days of struggle. We honor those days of bliss, and we just hold this container. So thank you for tuning in and sharing these episodes. You guys are amazing. We're adding to this grid of light every time we connect and share messages of hope, inspiration, and challenge. So my gratitude goes out to the audience and everyone out there looking for answers, because I am too. I'm going to get in my space and set the tone for our session today, our container we're creating. I'm getting into my heart, grounding my feet. Thank you, God, Creator, for bringing us together today. I'm excited to collaborate with Michelle and bring forth these messages from our teams, from Ascended Masters, from our guides. And I invite her team to collaborate with my team with graciousness and love. And we're going to bring forth this message to elevate, to inspire, and maybe even give a new perspective to spirituality, historical fiction, historical figure, and just have a new light shined on things that we might have rinsed repeat. So I invite my curious heart to come forward. Please take what serves you and leave what doesn't. And I invite the Holy Spirit to sprinkle in the magic of connection, of clarity, of our voice. And I think all the resources that came together to bring all of us to this place and time. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. We've got Michelle Henderson on the pod today. Welcome, Michelle.
Well, thank you so much. I love that you talked about being present. That is the most difficult thing to be, is to live life presently.
You're right. I know, because sometimes my brain starts to think about everything that I want to get accomplished, and then I mess up where I am. So I have to, like, me setting the intention is very selfish every time, because it's like I'm squirrel brain. I'll just jump to 5 different things and be like, okay, this is a really precious moment. So yeah,
I love
anyone
that.
can learn through me. I'm happy. I'm happy to be the experiment.
Absolutely love that. I know. And I'm one, you said talking about during the day, I'm one that I worry about the future. I think of the past, well, what if I shouldn't do that or this? And it's like, you've got to give yourself grace and just live presently. And then, and then you can just restart if there's something that you didn't like in the past. Just let it go.
Yeah, like, and so, yeah, so everybody, Michelle is here from outside Dallas, and she's got a rich history. And like, wouldn't it be cool if you knew you could talk to Jesus and his spiritual wife? Okay, guys, so we're going to go there. She's a channeler, and she's going to give us insight, and she's going to talk us about her most recent book. She's published a few, but this one was really special and spoke to my curiosity. And then, Michelle and I have a common background in working with special ed in the school systems and working with families. And so that's a beautiful connection. And she has a lot of experience with people on the autistic spectrum disorder. And so we're going to pepper in some beautiful insight and spirituality with people we love, and everyone has something to share. So I love it when we can highlight what everyone in our community provides. Sometimes we think of populations as being someone we service instead of some people that enrich us. And I've experienced that enrichment of joy, of purity, and the ability to use your intuition with someone who can't talk to you. So we have lots of talking points today. And so I hope everyone can stick around. This is probably going to be one you want to listen to again or share with somebody. And just really honored to have you on this show, Michelle. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here. And like you said, I love the connection that we have, because I think we'll bring others that have the same type of connection as well.
Definitely. And we invite that. So universe, let that in. It's
Absolutely.
important because burnout is a real thing and questioning yourself is a real thing. So I would love to just pick your brain on, you know, the ability to look back at things you have done and say, this made a really big impact. And so I guess what I want to start with is Sarah
Okay.
and tell us about Sarah. And I think we can weave in these other topics around Sarah and what you've learned from her.
Absolutely. And let me back up too, because you spoke about talking with Jesus
Hmm.
and connecting in with him. And my goodness, everybody can do the same thing. So, it's not like a special talent. I've always had a relationship with Jesus. I mean, I grew up in a Christian home and he was my to go guy. Anytime I would get depressed or sad or somebody was mean to me, I would talk to Jesus about it. And I knew that he was there listening to me. So the Jesus that I knew was a loving Jesus and was there at all times whenever I needed him. And I think too, having that intuitiveness, a lot of people have it. They just don't know that they have it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I will say that, so I've always had a good relationship with him. I started my spiritual journey right before COVID. And one time I was meditating and Jesus came in, and it's so interesting because this time it was more visual. I actually saw his robe and his sandals that he wore. And I'm going, oh, this is new. And he said, I have brought somebody through that I want to introduce you to. And he introduced her as Sarah. And he said, we're asking you to tell her story. And of course, I'm going, of course, they were asking permission. I could have said no. And I said, of course. And of course, I didn't know what I was getting into. So at that time, I was a trans channeler. If just to let you know, if you don't understand what trans channeling is, you allow the spirit to come into you. It's almost like the disciples and the people writing scripture would allow spirit to come in.
Hmm.
And so it's basically the same thing. And instead of writing with my right hand, I wrote with my left hand. So it was automatic writing that she came through.
Okay.
So her story started developing and I'm going, wow. And I could visualize it. She allowed a movie to kind of play in my head. And I could feel everything that she was feeling during every episode of the book. And this book isn't supposed to replace the Bible for any means. I don't want to offend anybody. It's look at it as what if this happened?
Hmm.
And there are questions after each chapter so you can really think about how you view it and where you are on your spiritual journey. So that is how I was introduced to Sarah. Do you want me to go on to with her story?
Yeah. Well, I would like to know why you think Jesus wanted you at this time to bring forward Sarah's story.
Oh, I love that. Okay, absolutely love that. This is a great time right now because, and it's so interesting that I didn't understand either about this time. And I'm not the only channeler who is channeling Sarah.
Okay.
And okay, so I'm not the only one. I mean, she's coming to several people. And just to let you know, so as I go through the journey, I found out it's actually Mary Magdalene that's coming through. And so she said, I want to be known as Sarah because that way people are not worshiping me. I'm coming across with a message and they'll listen to it without feeling that they have to worship. And I think it's really important during this time, during the chaos, that people find, that feminine touch and the feminine energy and to feel the love. And her message is through Christ consciousness. And Christ consciousness does not have anything to do with religion. And so it's just the way to live and to have the faith and to strengthen your faith because a lot of people are questioning their faith and they're beginning to leave the church. And this gives them something to fall back on because spirituality is so important. And a lot of people do find spirituality in church, but those ones that don't need to have something to follow. And they need to follow with their heart. And sometimes they get depressed. That's why we're seeing a lot of depression right now. And with her coming in with all the messages that she's coming into, all these people that are channeling, it's beautiful. And it's changing the energy of the earth where we have more love and light. instead of all the darkness.
Yes. I wholeheartedly agree, and pulled, if it's okay, I pulled a quote from your book.
Sure.
Um,
Yes.
and it says, "Each of us may follow a different God. Jesus was chosen by the heavens to fulfill a critical spiritual to fulfill a critical spiritual mission, to offer us hope, teach us love, and help us seek our truth and a deeper spiritual understanding." So this goes way beyond each individual religion from that, which I was that sparked me because I've been part of several space religious traditions, marrying a Jewish man, being brought up Catholic, and I've dove in, dove in with both feet. I don't know,
Yes.
dived. I don't know the right word, dived or dove, but really with all my heart into each, and was lacking because the spiritual part that and so Mary Magdalene and these messages have helped me. So I understand how it can help. And it's not that you don't believe in the Bible, like you said, or Jesus, or it's Jesus as a messenger to bring forth this beauty, and I love how you illuminated that and you acknowledge there's different gods and it's okay. We're not going to burn and be sent to a lesser place because we believe in a different God. Like that's not the truth. That's not what Jesus taught.
Right, right, among his teachings, absolutely, and I think a lot of people have kind of or the churches have kind of moved past that point and made it more like a condemning God, and again, if you're on that pathway, I mean, you need to follow that,
Right.
but so I'm here just to help, Sarah's voice or Mary's voice be heard.
Hmm. And yeah, so it's beautiful how you were able to write down with your left hand her messages. And I was wondering I was reading the book, how long did it take you to write down those messages?
It did not take very long because it was so and I would only do it for about 30 minutes each night so that I would make sure I was fresh, to be able to channel her. And whenever I did this, also I lit a candle and I wore a headdress as I did it because to me it was very spiritual thing to do and very divine. And so I prayed, I meditated. So it was a part of my day to be with her. And I want to tell you this is while I was writing, there were some parts of the book that I was not taught or even thought about. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know if I can continue. I don't know. It's something different. And so the fear
Yeah.
factor started coming in. My human side came in. I'm thinking people are going to think I am crazy. And I'm thinking, but you know what? It's not my story. So I did have to go through that. It's her story. It's not my story that's coming to surface. And I feel very privileged or very honored to be able to do this.
And that rings through. And wow, I don't know if I could have continued after the first chapter.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, because you said you felt what she felt.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
was rough. Like, I was
Yes.
crying. I was
Yeah.
crying reading what happened to her just for speaking her truth. And I don't wanna ruin it for anybody, but it's intense. And for you to keep going, that was very brave because you didn't know where it was going, where her
No.
story was going.
Not at all, not at all. And then the messages at the very end of the book, I actually did videos. I did that in front of a video and then I transcribed it for the book. So,
So,
yeah,
her healing messages.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, I have to share with you something. I didn't think I was gonna do this, but they're telling me I need to.
Okay.
So, my book has a ton of parallels.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Life of Love, a
I talk
joyful guide.
about
Oh my
water, I
gosh.
talk about your being of light. I channeled this.
Oh, did you?
Yes, and so I'm just like, I think Mary Magdalene was helping me write my book too.
Yes. Yes. And like I said, she's coming to so many people now
It's like
and it's
wild.
just incredible. So when how did you channel your book?
I wish I would have thought to put a headdress on, but I did light a candle and I'd sit in my chair, in the same chair, the same time every day, and I just wrote what came to my heart. I just
Yes.
I just asked. I said, "God, angels, give me what I need to communicate here, and I just opened myself. And some days I wrote, and most days I typed on my computer.
Yes.
But I
Right.
didn't have, and some days I drew pictures, but I have
Oh, beautiful.
journals. And then I had a great writing coach to help me like bring it all together. But yeah, yeah, it was definitely a labor of love. And it took me about 8 months sitting down for like 1.5 to 2 hours a day, just
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. And you
asking.
felt her presence coming through.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I didn't say Mary Magdalene, but I just asked. And I knew it was a work of divine feminine.
Right.
And asking for help. So in your book, you mentioned that Sarah, who Jesus asked if he could call her Mary, and that's where I believe the Mary Magdalene comes in, right?
Yes. Yes.
She said she was visited by, how did you put it? Uh,
The star
Ethereal
beings.
figures.
Yeah. Yeah. The what? I'm
The
sorry.
ethereal
Yes.
figures.
Yes.
What do you think that was?
Star beings.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought star beings, but you expect angels. You expect,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, they were there to help, be assistants. And of course, even though they're not angels, God still sent them to help Jesus and Mary. So they were there to be of assistance.
And I love this parallel because I think that they're trying to help us again.
Yes.
I think we're back in this time. Are you getting that feeling? Are you connected to
Yes.
that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are also understanding what light language is all about, a different kind of light language. And I think they are helping us find our first language again. And I think with all of this, we're beginning to get the truth and the wisdom from the ancients. And it just is so interesting how this is happening at this time.
And it's exciting.
Yes.
Like at the end of the gatherings, Jesus is like, drink, be merry, let's dance.
Yes.
It's a celebration. It's not this somber, some kind of lack or, don't be yourself. You can be happy and joyful and be around me. I'm here. I'm here to
Yeah.
show you joy
Oh,
and give
absolutely.
women
And
their voice.
yes. And I think that is going back to the present moment. He was showing us how to live presently. And I think that is so important. Move on, move on from it. And forgiveness was so important. And that's a lot of what the cross consciousness involved is forgiveness. And, in the beginning, she had to forgive the man who intruded on her. And then Jesus, of course, forgave the people who put him on the cross. And to me, that is the most difficult things to forgive. That is the most important thing that you need to find so you can find the ultimate love that Jesus was trying to teach.
And part of I always struggled with, okay, what would Jesus do? And I'd be like, well, Jesus would forgive. Jesus would, try to find the good and accept everyone unconditionally. But then also there was a part in your book where you said Jesus fought off this intruder that was going to hurt his sister.
Right. Right.
And I was really happy. I have chills right now to read that because he didn't say be passive and let someone hurt someone you love.
Right.
But he did.
Right.
Then he's like, well, you forgot your food. You're going to stay for dinner. I kicked you out, but here, come get your food. And the person's like, but I just tried to hurt your sister. And he's like, yeah, I forgive you, but here's your food. And, I'm not going to let you hurt someone. So, it's like when I was a child and I was bullied by somebody who, was just a kid being mean. I just took it because I thought that's what Jesus wanted me to do. And I was lost for a while. I was very lost because it did not feed my sovereignty. It did not feel good to my soul to let someone just do what they wanted to do to me. And so I was lost in that. And it took me a while to find my way back to it because even the nuns were like, oh, get over it. And, you shouldn't feel bad. Just forgive her. But it was like, I knew I needed to fight back, but I was trying to do the right thing. But there's a difference. Like there's a subtle difference. It's not even subtle. It's like God and Jesus, divinity does not want you to be a victim. You should defend yourself if you
Absolutely.
can. I mean, she couldn't defend herself against that angry man, but there's reasons, like there's things that happen that you agree to, I believe in soul contracts and but, just that idea you're not supposed to be a victim if you don't have to be. I loved that because you're not a pacifist. You know what I mean?
No.
Like you're not gonna let someone run over you. You can't let evil thrive. So I thank you for that. That was really like, whoa.
Absolutely. And, and with that too, I think if we keep our love and light, it also rubs off onto them as well. So, yeah. So the
And they
darkness
respect you
gets less.
for standing up
Yes,
for to them, but
absolutely.
you're doing in love and light. It's a difference
Yes.
than darkness. Okay, so I have to do the other one. Okay, so when I read Jesus had a wife and children, that's what you channeled. And so were you when you're writing that, were you like, what is going on here?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going, "Oh, really?" Yes. And the reason is why that came across, because I asked, I said, "Okay, why is that information that needs to be in the book?" And because I want, and the reason is because Jesus had to know the humanness. He needed to have a real life to understand what people are going through, to be able to connect in with them as a human. So that's one reason why that was brought out that he, yes, he was married and he had children before his spiritual pathway started. And I think when we tie back to Mary coming in during this time, it's the same thing. Is that she's coming in, she's channeling through so many different people, but she's connecting in and giving us the messages that identify and that we can understand right now, that resonate with us. So that's basically the same way of what he was doing as well.
I was like, whoa, it takes a lot of guts to publish that because people are probably like, what are you talking about?
Well, and like I said,
It's
if
her
it
story.
doesn't, yeah, if it doesn't resonate with you, think about, well, what if he did?
Hmm. Well,
You
I've thought
know,
about that.
right, right.
Even the Dan Brown movie or movie, the
Yes,
books,
yes,
you know?
right.
So what if? I mean, how I've always struggled with like who wrote down the stories and how do we know that they, like I follow the feeling of what the Bible is saying, but I don't necessarily take everything to be all inclusive because how could it? And then these lost books that, the book of Philip that was lost and recently that's been coming out. So it's just really interesting that there's different things coming out and if you're curious there's a reason and if you have no interest at all there's a reason and all of it's
Yeah,
valid. It's all valid.
absolutely, absolutely.
So that's what I was going to ask you is it's tough, the rise of autism in our society. Why do you think that's happening now?
That is such a difficult question to answer. And I think it's
Hmm.
one of those that, until we find out, we don't know where it comes from. We don't know if it's environmental. At first, a while ago, the shots, they were saying it's the shots. So there's a lot of different things that are going on, but we also have to remember it's been around for a long time.
Hmm.
It's been a lot around 40s when, the Asperger's came out and back then, I'm glad we've come a long way, but back then they were blaming the moms. They were calling them refrigerator moms that had no emotion. That's why your child. So they were blaming the moms for this. So we've come a long way. And I think we still have a long way to come. But again, there's always a reason for everything. And I don't mean that heart, because I know that it's difficult for many of these parents
Hmm.
that are living with this. And they are coming up with PTSD because of the behaviors and everything else. So it's not an easy thing. But I think we can look and we can learn from it. These children, while I was working with them, I've learned so much from them more than that they probably learned from me. And I think that you can find the spirituality in this and you can communicate with children who are nonverbal. And I used to, whenever they would start having meltdowns, and what I would do is I found my energy and I would talk to them telepathically. It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You are safe. And you could kind of see them calm down. So there are different ways to communicate with these children and don't think and accept them as they are because they've got divine spark in them.
Yes. Yes, and being a speech pathologist, I've worked with a lot of people that have that diagnosis, and each one is so unique, and
Yes.
I've learned something from each person, and the amount of sensitivity that they can teach us. And like you said, it's like stepping back and just quieting so you can tune in to what their world might be looking like. That's a huge gift because anytime you can change your perspective, you open your horizon to a different possibility and not seeing it as a challenge, but more as a chance to live through someone else's eyes a little bit. And like that stimming behavior, what's going on? What are they noticing that everyone else misses? And it's a lot of times it's something very important.
Well, and I was gonna ask you that too. So, a lot of times whenever the children I was working with, whenever they would stim or they would look off in the distance and they would start laughing, and I'd go, "What are you laughing at?" And, coming from a spiritual point of view,
Hmm.
I bet they were seeing beyond the veil. I think they were seeing other beings or angels or who knows, loved ones coming through. And I had a little boy that would just laugh, and I would laugh along with him. I wouldn't make him, feel
Hmm.
bad about doing it. And I call them grid children sometimes because
Hmm.
I think they can see the earth's grids. They can see the geometric shapes, the sacred geometry that we can't see lots of times. I think they can see it.
I do too. And I think they're tapping into other dimensions.
Yes. Yes. Totally.
Yes.
And I think that's why a lot of times their sensory issues are totally different. That's why you see them with their headsets. It's because they're having so much energy and hearing so much around them that they have to tone it down a little bit.
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely. I agree. I agree. And it's it's really fun to break in and be a part of their world with them because they light up. They're like, "Oh, she sees me. Like
Yes,
this is we're
absolutely.
connecting."
Yes. And I love that whenever you do connect and you start seeing them, start trusting you and feeling safe with you. I just love that relationship.
I know I have one athlete, she'll tell me, "You're doing great. You're doing great." And I'm like, "I am? Okay, I'm doing great." Because like with the feeding tennis balls, I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, that was a worst toss," and she'd be like, "No, you're doing great." And I'm like, nice. I hear her even when she's not around me telling me, "Doing great." And I'm like,
Yes.
"Thank you."
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh.
Uh,
What a sweetheart.
yeah. So, and I think the families that have people, I don't wanna even say children because a lot of those families stay together. The
Yes.
it's not like, person with that diagnosis can, always go off to college and do that, and so the family unit is so much tighter, but then, I honor that the parents need breaks, that,
Right.
that self-care and just raising awareness of those moments that, you know, let their loved one be with somebody else and recharge their batteries because it is exhausting and when you don't know what to expect and you're trying to keep someone safe it gets exhausting and it can fry your nerves especially with and I can't I just I'm remembering when I was working in the middle school and I always had to have this just came to me. I always had to have the lights off, fluorescent lights, the industrial lights. I would not let those be on in my room.
You're right.
I shared a classroom with another special ed teacher, but I knew intuitively I needed lamps around. I didn't want the buzzing of the
Yes.
fluorescent lights and the harsh blue light coming in. And now all this stuff is coming in about how awful the blue light is. And here are these precious souls who are trying to tell us this for years.
Yes. Yes. I know. Again, we're learning from them. We're learning from them. And I totally agree with you that these parents are needing breaks
Hmm.
because they can't even sleep at night many times. And
Right.
so, yeah. So, but I am so grateful there is more and more help along the way. They've just got to find, and to me, I think a parent needs to find another parent to find this information. Instead of looking at organizations, they need to go to different families or different parents to be able to ask what they need to do.
Right. The community. I mean, you can't
Yes,
replace the community.
right.
Yeah. So the Facebook groups is a great
Yes,
place to meet other people who are looking for community. And ask your angels. Ask your angels of community.
The guide. Yeah,
Bring forward a family that we can work together.
absolutely.
They will
Absolutely.
help you. There's angels waiting in the wings, just because they get life from us. And
Right.
they get to live through us a little bit. So when you ask them and you say, "Angels of the highest light and love, help me with this. Help me with this situation." It's that surrender and the acceptance of help
Yes.
that is
But you
is
got to
so
ask for
powerful.
it.
You have to ask. Yes.
Yes.
Like you did.
Yes.
You're like, "What did I ask for, guys?" Writing these books.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Wait, wait. No, yeah. They're
No,
going, well,
it's
you
beautiful.
asked and we're coming through.
It's beautiful. 'Cause then the gifts at the end, like the different chapters that give support and insight and things to ask for, because sometimes you're in such a place you don't even know where to begin. You're a special divine being and you're a creation of God, one of a kind, but doesn't feel like it at the moment. Like you're like, what
Yeah,
do I need?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And I know, and it's very hard for me to say this, but because I'm not in the same situation, but he gave you this child because you are a warrior. It's in your DNA, it's in your soul. And so that's why many times you have a child and you get to show the world this child and how this child can be and be an advocate for not only this child, but other people, other children under the spectrum.
And that's what I started thinking about. I was like, well, we could say, well, it's the mercury and the vaccines. It's the amount, kids are getting so many more. But there's like a mass consciousness. There's always something that humanity needs to learn. And even if humanity introduced this to ourselves, why? And what can we learn from it? And I would never wish any kind of difficulty on anybody. Like you said, sometimes it's like this soul path, like you're a warrior for differences. And this is something, even though it's challenging, it's something that on some level, we're all a part of it. Like you say in your book, we're all connected. Like that person that did the violent thing, that's part of us too. And so how do we deal with that? And it's hard. We want to say us and them and when you look at it as a oneness, it's hard. You can't pick a side. We're all part of
No,
it.
and that is very true.
And you
That is
can't be a
very true.
victim. You can't be a victor or a victim.
Right. Absolutely. I love that.
Those were the keys that I wanted to point on. Did you have any questions for me? You said you like to ask questions.
I do. Absolutely. So, have you channeled any other person? I want to say person because they're spirits, but have you channeled anybody else?
That's interesting because I don't get like I'll do automatic writing, but I don't get like I am, this I am this entity, I'm that, but I'll have faces come into my
Yes.
meditations. And the faces have an energetic like message. And then they'll leave really fast. I was like, well, wait, come back. I don't know. And it's a lot of darkness, but it's not scary dark. It's just like
Right.
my mind's eye is dark. And so when the pixels of a face come in, and I've definitely seen Jesus, I'm like, oh, hi, Jesus. And then he's like, oh, I got to go see someone else. She got the message, like
Right. 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 Right.
it's very
Gotcha.
fleeting, but loving.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't, yeah, it's more like feelings. And I believe that I'm here to be in my present. And maybe if I was really good at channeling and like connecting to Isis or any like one entity, I would go to escapism too much.
Yes. I was going to say you start relying on them too much. If you're not relying on yourself. And yeah, so a lot of people tend to do that. It's almost like somebody keeps looking outside themselves to find answers when you can find your answers on your own
Inside.
and not depend on everybody.
No, right. Like, and you're right. When I get into my heart and I ask my heart and I ask my higher self, do you know? This is one question I was going to ask you. Do you know the difference between your higher self and your oversoul?
My goodness.
Are they the
You tell
same?
me. Okay, so to me, what I'm feeling is the
Hmm.
higher self, okay, has different. Okay, this is getting really woo woo.
Okay.
So okay, so your higher self is actually a part of a tree. Okay, I'll do this visually. So
Okay.
as a part is the tree, okay? And your other selves are going into different universes, different timelines, living different things, different lessons. So your higher self is actually watching the roots get deeper and deeper with all your lessons that you're learning from, I don't know how many other selves we have. But so your higher self is almost the one that's overlooking all of this, right? But I think your overlooked soul is in different places while your higher self is in one. Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, it's hard to conceptualize
Yes.
because so your oversoul, can there be more than one oversoul working at the same time?
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah, so they're
Okay.
all in at the exact if you take out the time, everything is happening all at once. I mean, even biblical days, they're happening right now, but it's hard for us to really fathom that. So we have different selves in different universes, over our oversouls in different universes, timelines, living at the same time, but learning different things. So one
Okay, so
decision,
it's each
yeah,
incarnated soul, or each soul has an oversoul, and then your higher self is over all of it.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
All
yes,
right. Because I've been really talking to my higher
yeah,
self
yeah,
a lot and asking my higher self to give me insight into different situations or decisions or how I'm spending my time. And it's very helpful. But then I heard someone say oversoul, and I was like, have I been talking to the wrong thing? But
no,
there's never a
well,
wrong. But I'm like,
no,
well,
I was going to say it depends on what you perceive it as to be. That's what I'm getting right now. But somebody else, listening may be going, "No, you're wrong."
I
So
like.
you got to go with what you feel, what your truth is, and that's really a part of that cross consciousness thing that we're talking about. Let me go ahead before we end because I do feel like I need to bring this up with the cross consciousness that Sarah's teaching. It's got the three different alchemy elements in it.
Okay.
And the one that what we're talking about is what is your truth? Who are you? And what do you believe in? Not what everybody else believes in. After you find out your truth, that is your foundation. Then knowledge starts coming in. So, like, I was ready for Jesus and Mary to come in to give this book. So, they gave me knowledge after I found out who I truly was. And then the third one is love, that unconditional love that we were talking about, forgiveness. That's where you find the divine spark in you. And with all these three alchemies, that is the main purpose or the main thing of Christ consciousness that she's wanting to come through and talk about.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's and to me that was the hardest thing was what am I about? Like
Right,
that was my crisis. Like what am I even doing here? I don't even know no one's ever asked me what makes me happy.
right,
I've always lived in the reflection of someone else's approval. So that was a big thing for me to say, wait a minute, I don't even know what my truth is. So yeah, I love that that's the first step. And it's like,
yes,
it builds on each other because then your truth changes as you learn more, right? But you have certain foundations that remain stable, but you adjust. We talked about this earlier, you adjust to what your experiences and what you know now. And it's okay. Like you can say, I honor my 20-year-old self and I accept and unconditionally love her, even though she made mistakes that you wouldn't have done it again. But you learned and you evolve and you grow and that's all we can do. That's all we can do is as ask. Show me the highest expression of today.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you're a different person than where you were an hour ago.
Heck yeah, I just learned a lot of stuff. Thanks, Michelle.
No worries, no worries, anytime.
You're a natural born teacher.
Well, what
Yes.
let me ask you one more question. I'm
Sure.
just curious about so when did you know that that you had the intuitiveness inside you?
I knew it. I knew it the first time I had deja vu. I'm like, wow, this is weird. I don't even know if I should tell anyone about this.
Yep. Yeah, let's put our hat on, our sunglasses on, and
Yeah,
let's
because I
find
already
out.
knew I was different and weird than everyone else. And I was like, gosh, if, this is just one more thing that makes me weird, and misunderstood, and sensitive. Julie's always so sensitive.
My goodness. Aren't we all? Oh my gosh. And people that are listening to it, they're probably going, I can identify with that. I can understand that. I went through the same thing.
And we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be weird.
Oh,
Otherwise, we're,
absolutely.
like you said, refrigerator moms. We're carbon copies of,
Yes.
and we're not. We're not
Right.
supposed to be
Right.
robots and zombies. So I celebrate it.
Oh, me
This,
too. Me too. And spirituality is all creativity too. I mean, take out the logic
mm,
because if you use too much logic, you're going to think you won't find your truth because you'll keep thinking, "Oh, that's just my imagination."
mhm.
Instead of accepting it as is and say, "Yes, that is the divine. That is the creative side of me. That is spirituality."
Right. And it's so important, even with all the AI images and videos, even so much more important because anything can be created for your eyes to see. You have to lock in your heart and say, is this right?
Yes.
Is this true?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it's becoming more and more essential. It's an essential skill to be able to tune into your heart and your intuition. I'm honored to bring forth this message. And please, guys, if any questions, reach out to us. There'll be comment sections, in any platform you can make comments, especially YouTube. I look at that probably the most. But yeah, let us know how this hits you and if there's anything we can do to support you on this, because I think that's the underlying message is we're here to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why it's so interesting how many I keep talking about this, but how many people are channeling now than there used to be. Or it maybe we did channel, but we didn't come out with the information.
Mhm. Right. It's not a coincidence. It's part of
Yes.
who we're becoming. And maybe once we're there, the galactics will be a little more present. Or maybe we just need to have a little more fun and they'll show up more for us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, they're not going to invade or trying to persuade us or in any means. So, but I wonder what they're thinking.
I know. Well, this has just been such a delight. Thank you. Thank you so
Well, thank
much.
you. Well, thank you so much. I loved our conversation.